This episode is brought to you by Indie Insights. Indie Insights is our bi-weekly newsletter and love note to the film industry, movies, and the creatives that make them, not to mention you, our esteemed listeners. Inside, you'll find curated industry trends, articles, exclusive commentary, and underappreciated films from filmmakers like you worldwide. And the best part is that it is completely free. So join today at www.bonsai.film. It takes just a few seconds. And once you sign up, you'll get the very next newsletter on Friday morning. It's that simple. Go to www.bonsai.film to get Indie Insights, our bi-weekly newsletter, and join a network of film creatives just like yourself. And don't worry, we'll never sell your information or spam you with a bunch of nonsense emails, just the bi-weekly film industry goodness you need. And if you ever tire of Indie Insights, simply unsubscribe. No gimmicks, no games. So go to www.bonsai.film to get Indie Insights for free. You're listening to Make It, a podcast by Bonsai Creative that helps creatives in film get where they're going faster by sharing the advice, knowledge, and insights of professional creatives across the film industry. I'm your host, Chris Barkley, and with me today is my good friend and Make It podcast co-host, Nicholas Bugs. Hello, Chris here with another episode of the Make It podcast, and this is an Indie Talk week, and that means I have my good friend and co-host of the Make It podcast with me right here, right now, Nicholas Bugs. Nick, say hello.
Hello. I love it. You know, the staccato in that, with me right now.
Mm-hmm.
Nicholas Bugs.
Yep.
Oh, no. I think you left out. You got to do the incomparable.
I'll do that. I'll do that next time, or maybe I'll save it for when I have a guest host.
Yeah, right. It's like I'm gonna say that for someone who's not you. How about that?
Right. Exactly. But it has been a while though, and I'm so glad to sort of be back in the saddle with you. We had so many back interviews that I thought that it would be a disservice not to let them out, not to release them to the world, to this audience.
Yep, I agree.
Because what happens is you can start to sort of map how old they are based on what we talk about.
Yep, you got it.
And it's like, whoa, okay, that's a little dated. That subject matter. I think I had to put a disclaimer on the front of one of these interviews where it's like,
yeah, you
listen,
did.
This is when we recorded this. And that's how crazy of a country this can be sometimes. Still the best country in the world, without question, right? Because if you ask anybody, okay, well, where are you going to go? Like, spin the wheel of countries where you're moving tomorrow because you're so fed up.
Right.
And nobody's leaving, right? So the deal is it's still the greatest country in the world, but it can be an unusual place. And so, for example, there was a conversation, I want to say it was with Michael McRae, where we were talking about one shooting, and in between our recording and we released it, another shooting happened.
Yep.
So, and all of a sudden I'm listening back saying, oh my gosh, my comments on one shooting could be sort of mistaken and extrapolated to this new shooting, and my feelings on that, which, aren't accurate at all. So, yeah. We took a little hiatus for that reason, but now we are back. We are day drinking, by the way, recording this in the afternoon, but we're not day drinking liquor. I'm having this Celsius Live Fit, and I would love to be, what I would love to be drinking? 3E.
There you go. And I was going to say that, I'm stepping into that.
Christian Gregory. Now, Christian, if you're seeing this, if you're hearing this, Where's our energy drinks, bro? Let's go.
Yeah, we're gonna get those. Now, here's the thing. Now, I'm on mine too, and everybody knows probably. Yeah, no, everybody probably knows that this is where I'm at these days. Is on this uptime, right? Now, here's the thing. The reason I drink the uptime is because there's so few ingredients in it. I don't like stuff with a bunch of ingredients I can't read.
Read the ingredients of uptime to us.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Filtered carbonated water, cane sugar, natural flavors, citric acid, calcium citrate, natural caffeine, potassium benzoate and potassium sorbate, both of which are preservatives, L-theanine, Panax ginseng root extract, angelica root extract, ascorbic acid, and coenzyme Q10. Now, I'm saying I'm on this, but back to what you said, this is one of the reasons why when the official word goes out on that 3E, now 3E is currently available. Yeah. But when it kind of shifts and moves into some new territories and does some new things that we know it's going to do, I'll make that switch as well. So
yeah, we want to drink the energy drink designed for creatives, made by creatives. That would be
that's right.
3. Now you said yours didn't have a lot of ingredients. This Celsius, which this flavor is the sparkling orange, it has carbonated filtered water. So my water is superior to your water.
But why? Wait. Because the word carbonated came first? Because mine says filtered carbonated water.
Yes, of course. And then, no, I'm kidding. Citric acid.
Yeah, mine too.
Natural flavor.
Mine too.
What the hell does that mean?
Well, that's the secret sauce.
What does natural flavor mean?
Yeah, that's the secret sauce.
That's what me and you have.
Yeah, that's right.
Craig Mack.
There you go.
Sucralose. So that's what you don't like, and I'm okay with.
There it is. That won't do it. Won't let it touch my body.
Beta carotene for color. So we both have that. And this happens to contain 200 milligrams of caffeine. So not a lot of ingredients.
Yep. And sucralose, bro. That's the one. Like I said,
tons of vitamins in it. I didn't mention the vitamins. Yeah. I guess but if I don't want to read every vitamin down. Plus, I don't even know if I believe in that after all these studies have come out about the supplements. Who knows, if that's absorbing. If it's not a whole food vitamin,
what's in what?
I mean, what are you really getting? So one day we'll have an indie talk where I just go over my entire list of what keeps me, fit and young, and all the supplements that I'm taking and all the supplements you're taking. Steroids for you, right? That's what's keeping you so strong and muscular.
Say, none of that. That's right. Again, this stuff does not touch.
For me, I do the moose spray, and that's what keeps my forehead growing. And
you don't have a full head, you have a 5 head.
A 5 head. Yeah. And shiny.
Now, when you go to sleep, you don't have dreams, you have movies.
People like to take me to their business meetings because I'm always thinking ahead.
That's right.
I'm always
yes, you're ahead of your class. I know. I understand.
Ahead of the competition.
That's right.
Let's talk about the movies we have watched since we've been gone, because it's been weeks, almost a month, maybe a month. And a lot has happened in the month. We're about to enter we're like in the center of the summer season for movies, both on streamers and in theaters. So specifically in theaters, and I guess I'll mention that because I haven't watched movies on streaming as much as I have in theaters recently. So I watched Nope. It's a Jordan Peele movie with Keke Palmer and Daniel Kaluuya.
Who will not be in Black Panther 2.
Wow. And I watched Where the Crawdads Sing. And before that, I watched Jurassic Park. I'd watched Top Gun. I'd seen those already. Yep. And I have not seen Thor. I know that you did decide to go see Thor, right?
I did. Yep.
What else have you seen besides Thor?
That's the one that I've seen in the theater. We have talked about going to see Jurassic Park. I think my son wants to see that. It's basically the only reason I go to the theater is to see movies with him. You know, it's like,
okay.
So that's it. It's like whatever he wants to see, that's what we'll see. Like he saw the Minions movie, you know, so he had seen that with his cousin, so I didn't see that with him. And then he wanted to see, I think he kind of wants to see Jurassic Park. He's really into the series that they have out there. Camp Cretaceous. I think season 3 just dropped today. So he's super excited about that. Yeah. But Thor, man, that was definitely an interesting experience. And of course I call it an experience because anytime you go to the theater, that's what it is. Right. That's the benefit of going into the theaters is that there's an experience there.
How packed was it?
It wasn't. So this was just this past Friday. I think you'd probably say there were about, I don't want to say 50, maybe 40 people there. I'd say 40 people. Yeah, because I'd say 40 people. So I'll just say this. I'll start out with this. It's not a lot. It's not a lot, but I'll start out with this. Not with a critique or discussion of the film first. I want to talk about the experience.
Okay.
This is the first time in my life I have been in a theater where when the movie ended, the theater was completely silent. Okay, right? And then to couple that with the fact that this was an action movie, right? This was an Avengers movie. This was a Marvel movie. This was supposed to be also this, you know, again, the director, Taika Waititi, is like he's a comedian, right? So there's comic elements to this film. There's no one laughing at the end of this movie. There's no one commenting on a scene or a joke or a thing that happened or excitement even about the next thing, right? Because that's the way Marvel works, right? There's always something coming next that they allude to. It was completely quiet. I just stood there and I look at my son. I was like, "Can you hear this?" He's like, "What?" I was like, "Exactly. There's nothing." You know, and it was just a weird. Literally, never in my life have I experienced that. So now you take that back to the film, and I think
what should you have heard, and what have you heard in the past? Just
people talking about the film. Yeah, just people talking about the film. Did you see that? Or like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe this," or "That was so cool when." Just post movie chatter. Right? There was no post-movie chatter. It's like people were just grabbing their trash, the ones that actually take their trash, and left. It was just crazy. So again, back to the film itself, I see why. I was quiet too.
Yeah, it's a remarkable thing for it to be quiet after a film. I remember watching Burn after reading the Coen Brothers movie. And it was so now we're used to it, but at the time it was a weird movie. And I remember there were like 6 teenage boys to the left of me. And they were like, one of them said out loud, "What the hell did you bring me to?" And I was with Sally, and she was so disinterested. Like, and that's the worst. The worst is when you bring someone to a movie that you're thoroughly enjoying, and they could care less. So I'm loving the movie. I looked over at the teenage boys like, "Are we watching the same movie?"
You're right. What are you talking about?
And then I look over at Sally, and it's like, "Are we watching the same?" Like, no, I actually expected her to act that way. I was like, okay, this isn't her kind of thing.
Not your bag.
I get it, because she would have sat there like that with Pulp Fiction, right? So that's a movie that's so polarizing, yet there was still noise. See what I mean?
Yes, there's chatter.
Still chatter.
Yes.
I watched, before that came out, just to give you a second example, I watched a Tom Green movie called Freddy Got Fingered.
Yeah.
Freddy Got Fingered is, and I love Tom Green. And if he ever hears this is not personal. I think he would admit to this. Freddy Got Fingered is the worst movie I've seen in the theater.
Okay.
And because in Act 1, you're laughing because it's Tom Green. In Act 2, you're like, okay, this is going somewhere. This is going somewhere. Act 3 it had nothing to do with the movie. Like Act 3 was not connected to the rest of the movie. And there was only 2 movies I've ever been to where I've seen people actively walk out of the movie. This was one of the 2. And even when they're walking out of the movie feeling totally gypped, some people saying they want their money back. Yeah. That was chatter.
Yeah. And like, it's something that you expect.
is really unusual.
It's unheard of. And again, if you add all the layers, right, where this is a Marvel film, this is an action movie, like all the things, it's supposed to be, comedic as well. It was just amazing. So anyway, bring it back to Thor. And I don't want to stay on it too long because it wasn't worth the money be paying to watch it. I don't want to spend too much time. Exactly. But it was one of those where it was just, I'll just say it was largely disappointing. From just a storytelling, I mean, even the acting, I was like, what are they turning Thor into? It was. And now you are have Marvel, to go as
Marvel like geek guy, right? Like a
no,
Marvel,
I'm not a Marvel geek guy. I'm just
come on.
No, don't take me there. Because the thing is, when you go Marvel, if you want to go Marvel geek level, that's when you understand the relationship to the comic, which I don't, right? I don't know anything about the comics. Well, that's where a lot of folks will say, well, you didn't understand that or you didn't like that, but it's true to the comic, right? I don't know.
Got it. So like we have a mutual friend named BC that
knows all those details.
Will probably think the movie was good because of that, right?
Yeah. And at least give it a certain rating because of the connection to the comic. And we can talk about that. I've got a whole idea about how people rate films, especially if you're married to the IP. I think that is a significant portion of the rating. I think you're a 6 minimum if you're true to the comic. Right. Okay. Like, that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like we wouldn't do that. We wouldn't go that far. So anyway, but as far as like the writing,
just for being true, you get a 6. That's crazy.
Yeah. You get a 6. So for me, watching it, even from my son, and he's sitting there like, what's happening? Like, what is going on, Dad? Like, where's the action? Where's it? It was just dry. And it was very interesting to me that they were able to put this out there with all of these great actors, right? Celebrity actors in a film that could have been played. Those parts could have been played by anyone, right? If they didn't need the level of celebrity that they got in order for them to make that movie. Yeah. And that's what I mean. It was almost dumbed down. It's like some of the characters made this movie on the weekend while they were making a serious movie. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh boy, that's what it felt like to me. And I was just like, wow, some of the stuff they said, some of the things that they did. Yeah. And it was weak. It was just, it was kind of unfortunate, but but that's the one that I saw. And, when we were talking about the theaters and you'd mentioned to me, like, that theater experience is back for you. And it is to a degree for us, we're going back to the theater, but I think that there's other films that are potentially going to save the theater where films like this make you question it. Right. Yeah, that's what it did for me. That was huge. I'm like, why am I spending this money in a theater when I could have turned this crap off at home? Right. If I had waited for it to come out on Disney Plus, I just, nope. Click. Jordan Peele. Nope. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's done. But I couldn't do that. I was stuck spending that mony. So yeah, it was. Yeah, you feel once crazy. You spend the money, you do feel stuck. That's why it's so difficult to walk out on a theater, even if you like it. I can't remember who. There was an experience recently where the film stopped in the middle. And they couldn't get it back up. And, it sounds like a story about an old man don't even getting out of a warm bath. But but no, they couldn't get the movie going again. And they just gave everyone their money back. And I was like, I don't know, man. That kind of doesn't cut it, right? Like, you took the whole night. You're out there in the theater. You've seen half the movie. Right. And I guess you get free tickets to come back out, but now you have to come back out. Like, it's a thing. And these days, like, yo, bro, you're gonna pay for my gas to get back here. Right. Exactly. Yeah. No, that's a real halfway across town, bro. It's $13.47. That's a real deal. So you take, situations, experiences like that, combine them with your experience where there were 40 people in a theater to see a major tentpole movie, and then that movie wasn't good. It's like, man, that's not looking good for theaters. But in my experience with the movies I saw, so Top Gun, when I saw it, was
incredibly packed, and Top Gun is the best movie I've seen this year. Jurassic Park, not as good as Top Gun, but the theater was completely packed. We went to see Where the Crawdads Sing because we're friends with the cousin of the person who wrote the book. And so we had read the book or books, if they're like, and we watched it, and it was packed. Like there's like a ton of people in the theater. And the reason I mentioned that movie in particular is there's no action in it. It's not a tentpole movie. It doesn't have anybody you know in it and can name. I mean, maybe the lead actress. My biggest problem with that movie was the lead. Not that she's not a terrific talent. It's just that she's too English and dainty to be living in the marsh in North Carolina. I would have liked Jennifer Lawrence in that, who's proven through her roles, especially in Winter's Bone, that she can actually play that person that feels genuinely at home, you know, in the marsh and doing rough and tumble things. Like I didn't buy, there's a scene where the main character punches a really abusive guy. I didn't buy that. And she did a good job. It's just that she's too skinny and she's too dainty and English for me to believe that she would have hit that dude with any force. Whereas Jennifer Lawrence feels like, she might have knocked him out. Yeah, and that, you know, so, but the point is the theater is packed. And then Nope. It was now to be fair on this one, this was a screening. So before Nope came out. So it's kind of like, it's going to be packed, but here's the thing. Screening was on Tuesday. Theater was packed, of course, but the entire movie theater. So yeah, our auditorium was packed, but the entire movie theater on a Tuesday night was people wall to wall. Nice. The concession line was so packed that I missed the first 5 minutes of the movie. And I was in the premiere line because I'm an AMC guy, and my line was like, I would say 5X shorter than the rest of the regular line. And all I ordered was a soft drink. So I was looking around thinking to myself, I think theaters are back. And maybe what I'm finding is that it could be regional based on that region's feelings toward COVID.
I think there's that, and there's regional, depending on that region's feeling towards the content. And then I think about, I wonder how many theaters were showing Where the Crawdads Sing. I mean, when I say theaters, how many theater rooms were they showing it in at that
auditoriums?
Theater?
Yeah, probably.
Right. I mean, auditoriums. And the reason I say that is because Thor, I think, was showing it in at least 3. Right. Oh, okay. So you could get the regular view, you could get the IMAX view, or you could get the IMAX 3D view. Mm-hmm. Right. So now you've got people split across 3 different auditoriums, depending on a couple of things: how much you want to pay and whether or not you like 3D. We don't like watching those movies in 3D. It kind of messes up the experience, because I feel like in many times the 3D is not integrated with the movie, the writing of the movie.
Yeah.
I feel like it's more, opportunistic. Oh, that would be a cool thing to make 3D.
Yeah.
And then they don't do it for a while when they're like, well, why wasn't that 3D? And then it's like, oh, that thing's 3D. It's like, they're still playing with the technology. So it's like, why would you pay the extra couple dollars to watch that foolishness? So we don't.
I've mentioned it before. Once they figure out how to make the theater 3D, once they figure out how to make the theater VR, all that technology will take off.
Well, that and the sound. We don't want to wear shit on our face. I think they need to work on the sound. Yeah, but work on the sound. Like, I'm good with the thing on my face. If you're really conscientious. The thing on your face? Yeah, you're right. The glasses on my face.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
You're stuck.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're still stuck in the old man getting it halfway up. So.
Yes, my apologies.
Yeah, so I'm good with the glasses. But the thing is that, again, they need to be conscientious about how they do it and how often they use it and make it an integrated part of the experience. The second thing is they could do a lot better with the sound. I mean, make the sound come out of my left ear, go into my right ear, and like make it move with that. And I think you'll be more immersed in that experience. But without that, you just asked me to pay a couple extra dollars for some glasses that I got to give back at the end of the day anyway. So
you're really not talking about headphones. You're talking about the way that the scoring is actually mixed, so that you take advantage of the surround sound in a particular type of theater.
Exactly, because you know that, like you said, it can be mixed that way, right? So if you have a dragon that goes from the left side of the theater to the right on your 3D, I want to hear it go from the left to the right. I don't want to just come in straight at me. That would add to the experience. But anyway, all that to say that for Thor, they might have actually diluted our theatrical experience by giving us multiple auditoriums showing the same movie around the same time.
Right. Because you can't always trust the audience you're in the movie with. Right.
Right.
Because I'll go back to the story I've told in the past about Snakes on a Plane. The people that I was in there with, it was as if we were about to watch Macbeth for the first time. I've never seen so much energy for it's not a good movie, but it's not a bad movie. It's almost like the trailer we saw for Blood and Honey, the Winnie the Pooh. I guess so. Let me give some background. Well, actually, give some background on why it's possible that there's a Winnie the Pooh trailer for what seems to be a horror movie with Winnie the Pooh called Blood and Honey.
Yeah, why it's possible. So the simple fact of the matter is that there are characters that get shifted back. I don't even say back, but get shifted into the public domain. And public domain is like a lot of other things that you normally people think of, where there's photography, right? There's pictures, photos, there's images in the public domain that you can use on your PowerPoint presentation, right? That you can use in creating a trailer. You can use in creating, extra scenes in a movie. This stuff is out there and available for you to use. Mm-hmm. But there are actually characters out there in this world that you know and love from potentially your childhood that are in the public domain, which means that you can use those characters and their names in new things going forward. Right. And I think that they do this a lot in the comic space. I've seen numerous characters in that space where you see, oh, they're in this comic, they're also in this thing, and some new person comes along and writes a comic. It's like, well, how did they do that with Hercules? Well, Hercules in the public domain. That's why these different people can use it. So there's a laundry list of these characters. And just recently, Winnie the Pooh, and I guess in the band of characters in Winnie the Pooh, have gone on to the public domain. So recently, as recent as I guess middle or the beginning of this month, there was an announcement that there is, I guess, the studio who's working with a filmmaker to bring to life Blood and Honey, which is a Winnie the Pooh horror film. And yeah. Exactly. The little subtle laugh that you're giving, that's where I'm saying, like, what? Winnie the Pooh horror movie? Like, what are you talking about? Like, that's just craziness. But, what did they do? What did the filmmaker do? They took intellectual property, right? We always talk about this, right? Branded IP that's known. And they coupled it with a genre, which is horror, where the folks are just hungry for more, right? That's just... Yeah. It's an insatiable appetite that folks in the horror genre have for horror films. So they've taken that and put those two things together, and they've at least started to make this film. And there's a trailer out there. You can check it out on YouTube. And I think
we'll have at least put it in the show notes.
Yep. And it pops up in a couple different places. But what you'll see is that in one place, the thing has 2 million views. I think the trailer is all of 33 seconds long. I think they have some other trailers out there where it's like a minute something, but I think the minute something might have some buffer or something like that in it. But at 2 million views in a month, right? Another site that's 1.5 million views in a month. Another site is 1.2 million views in a month. And I think you could agree, right, Chris, that the trailer is, let's just say, less than inspiring.
It's student film-esque.
Right. But it has 2 million views.
Yes.
Right.
Well,
So
more
there's
than that in the aggregate, but yeah, on one
in
channel,
the aggregate,
it's
exactly.
over 2 million and 1,800 comments was the one on the video I saw.
Right. So what are comments? Comments is engagement.
Engagement.
Right.
Yeah.
So this filmmaker at the studio basically has, all of these views, all of this engagement. It's the smart play, right? Whether or not the film turns out to be, a unicorn or do whatever, this film can likely get funded based off of its proven engagement, right? It's proven virality, right? In a month's time, 10 million views. Let's just call it 6 million views across 3 different channels. That's viral, right? In a month's time, right? So it's viral. And who's talking about it? Like you, Chris, you asked me, like, how did I even hear about it? I got it from a news feed through IGN, right? So IGN is saying, here's this thing and it's gone viral, right? That's, again, you go viral with anything, then it increases its virality, right? As soon as someone says it went viral, well, you gotta watch it, right? And then you watch it, you're gonna share it. So anyway, I think the filmmakers are doing something very interesting here. We'll see where it goes, but it's a good play.
Can I read some of the comments?
Please.
So we talked about it looking like a student film, right? And when we're making that comment from the perspective of having made feature films, short films, and reviewed and given notes on many, like countless others, right?
Right. And
just
having
our love
reviewed,
for movies, and we've been watching movies and television our whole life, right?
Right. And having reviewed and watched many student film as well. So.
Exactly. So Moonlight Hunter says, well done. The silhouette of Winnie's head and ear in the window gave me the chills. With 889 thumbs up to that particular comment. So Jeez. What do we know?
889.
Yeah. What do we know about quality? What do we know about what looks like a student film and what doesn't?
Or even expectations around whether or not that is whether that matters, right? It looking like a student film may actually work in the film's favor.
Well, here's the thing. It doesn't quite look like found footage. It's not like Blair Witch.
No, it's not found footage.
I think they were going for found footage maybe, but there were like too many cuts and they needed just to do it in one shot. Anyway, Das is Maine says they took his honey. He took their lives.
Right. Already making taglines for the film.
They're already making log lines for the film. Now this person, Isabella Blue, says this feels like it was made by a student film or a film student in the early 90s. Can't wait.
That's not necessarily a bad thing, right?
Right. No, well, not for them. Can't wait to say to my kids, this is the real Winnie the Pooh. You stole his honey. Now he wants blood.
Yep. Blood and honey.
Remember, if Disney sues this, it's considered canon. There's 1,800 hilarious comments on this, and some take it seriously. Some are having fun, playing along. Some are really like looking forward to the movie. And a lot of people reference like, oh, I can't wait to show this to my little sister or brother. They're going to be freaked out because they thought Winnie was so nice. And my feedback and comment on this is simple, because how do we rectify this? Like, how do we give our best take? And I wouldn't call it advice, but just something meaningful to this audience about how we reconcile the lack of quality with the virality that you mentioned. And to me, there's a lot of things that happen throughout our lives that are subtle reminders of this fact that I'm about to share with you. So I was told early on in my entrepreneurial life, in my early 20s, that making money isn't a factor of working really hard or working really long or any of that stuff, working even smart even. It was really a factor of what market you chose to work in. So if you choose to be a social worker you're going to have a legacy of helping others and changing people's lives forever. If you choose to be a teacher, same thing. If you want money, though, you should go work on Wall Street.
Wall Street.
Yep. Because that's where the money is. And some people do that and say, well, I'll work on Wall Street and then I'll come back and do philanthropy, or I'll teach, or I'll do social work or whatever. Or I'll create homes, foster homes for kids with the money I make on Wall Street. So it's really a function of picking the right place to work, right? I'll give you another example. Okay. Independent filmmakers tend to make horror films. We know that. But what are the horror films about? If they're not making a horror film, it seems like it's a drama. And it's always a family drama. It's a drama. What is the drama about? What they did so masterfully, much more masterfully than the trailer, is they picked the right subject.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
Yeah. It's really, to me, it couldn't be simpler. It's just, do you have the heart for it? Is it for you? Social media. If you want 1 million followers, be a person that takes their clothes off. It's simple.
Like simple as that.
It could not be simpler.
Right.
Be either incredibly funny, like top 2% funny, or take your clothes off. It's that simple if you want a huge social media following that you can potentially leverage. Now, there are problems with that. I like the comedy part because you can eventually do a comedy show. But with the taking your clothes off part, it's diminishing returns because you have to be ever more salacious each post. And the second you decide to put your clothes back on and do something else, all your followers lose engagement. So they weren't following you for the right reason. Yeah, right. Now you're frustrated. It's like, okay, I guess I gotta take my clothes off again. So, and that's every social media network I've ever been on. So you have to really make those decisions. Like, what career do I want? Who do I want to become? Are these filmmakers going to be able to make another film after this Winnie the Pooh film? Will they be able to basically cash this lottery ticket twice? Because to your point, Nick, there are other characters out there that are in the public domain. The public is smarter. They're a little bit more intuitive than we give them credit for. Not me and you, but I mean in general.
In general.
It's really difficult to fool them. And so people are always surprised. Why didn't this work? The first one worked. Well, you did that already. Can't cash that lottery ticket twice. So if they come back with Puff the Magic Dragon, he wants more than just a puff, and it's like a horror movie, it's not going to work.
Yeah, well, here's the deal. It depends, right? It depends. And it depends on, one of the things you mentioned earlier. What if they do this well, and that's what they make their name for is maybe it's the parody of it, right? The parody of these public domain characters from our childhood. So they make the first one, they do the Puff the Magic Dragon because people are like, that's what they're doing now, is they're parodying, right, these characters, and that's what we're in for. Like, that's the thing that we're signing up to be a part of. Yeah, so that could be it. And that's what I think about. I mean, I think about our buddy Motke and what he does, right, and in his special way. Imagine if Motke were to take these public domain characters and do what he does with them. Like, it's endless, right? You're talking about endless possibility because he would do it in such a witty, whimsical, fun, balanced way that it would just be.
The difference is, though, Nick, let me just jump in here. The difference with that is, Maki has something serious he wants to say.
Well, and Maki is higher quality.
And once you become I made a horror movie with the Hamburglar. You can't go back and preach to anybody through your art, right? Which is part of the point of being a great filmmaker is you have a narrative platform to get a message across that's very difficult to put into words, or that you couldn't get across in a single conversation with someone. If it did work, like you said, I think that filmmaker would need to be smart like Weird Al Yankovic. So there's going to be a piece of this audience that has no clue who that is. So Weird Al was a big deal in the 80s, maybe the early to mid 90s, where he would do parodies of songs. But where he was really smart is that he kept changing the genre in which he would parody. So he'd go from Michael Jackson to Coolio, which, you know, now we know who Coolio is now, but back then he was like a legitimate rapper. And I mean, he still could be. I'm just saying, I think he might be known now for the guy who passed out having too much hot sauce on Hot Ones. But back in the day, rapper, won a Grammy. And then he switched from that and I think he did R. Kelly, Trapped in the Closet, except it was called Trapped in the Drive-Thru. Brilliant. And then he's done some rock parodies. So he keeps changing the genre, even though it's a parody. So if you did Winnie the Pooh horror, then come back and then make like a sexy, like 50 Shades of Grey, but with Puff the Magic Dragon. What do you think about that? Think about that.
It's possible. And that's the thing, is that there's ways to make it work. But the bottom line is, and this is what it all comes back to.
Sexy Puff.
And it, for me, is making sure that they're leveraging IP. They're leveraging things that people know. You know, and you're talking about things. I mean, here's the other part about things that people know in IP. It's really, it's connected to these people's upbringing, right? There are these formative years that you have where you create these relationships with characters, right? With music, with art. And if you can kind of key in on those characters and then bring your own flavor to that, I think you've already tied into an audience that is willing, and it's a generational audience. That's the thing. It's like people of the 80s, right? People of the 90s. Exactly. And then stick with that. Anyway, so that's one of the things that they're doing, is that, you know, there's these characters in the public domain. They're leveraging them. Second thing is they're leveraging an audience that's insatiable, which is the horror audience. Third, the thing that I mentioned to you is when you see these things on YouTube, you'll notice where it says official trailer, there's that little red line that precedes it. Okay. And that little red line kind of gives you the sense that, wait a second, is this Netflix? Right. So as a subscriber of Netflix, you might be, you know, wondering what the next thing is. And you want to see, oh, look at that. The next thing is Blood and Honey. So you click on it. Right. So you have.
I do not recommend doing this, though, to this any audience. And I will tell you, the little line that may become a problem. I don't think that they have copyright or any control or ownership. But I will say that when I was showing you the trailers in the list of YouTube, you know, videos, one of them said Netflix in the top left corner. And I went to show you on camera, and I was like, Chris, look. And as soon as I did that, what happened? The whole thing shut down. Came back up. I tried to find it, and I couldn't find it again. That thing was gone. Reed Hastings listening to the podcast, taking that away.
Exactly. So who knows who did that? But don't play like that. Don't put Netflix. Yeah,
because they'll just wait till you make money, and then they'll sue you.
Yeah, or they'll send some muscle. But anyway, it was.
So it's like
don't step over the line is my point.
I don't know if they needed it. You know, like I think it would have went viral.
No, I think someone else did that. Someone else did that. You know, so that's the thing. It shows up on all these different things. And again, someone who saw the line might have made the assumption that it was Netflix and decided to put that on there themselves. My point in that is that they used the little red line. They used the font to just grab people, clickbait, to grab people and pull them in. Right. So there are these ways of doing that on YouTube that you need to think about as a filmmaker, right? If you're putting stuff out there, there's ways to present that initial image of your video that can then send it into virality if you're smart about it.
Yeah. Every YouTuber that's successful that I've heard speak in podcasts or interviews talks about the importance of being a great thumbnail picker, meaning you pick the right image to get people to click on it, and the right words to overlay that image. And then, you're going to do so much better by percentage in terms of views. But two quick things, and then we'll get out of here. All right. One, the Netflix thing. I think it's a shame that Netflix was the logo used on one of these videos. And the reason why it was Netflix, people could argue, well, they're the number one streamer in the world. I argue it's because no one would have bought the idea that HBO Max had purchased this or created
why
this.
Netflix and not another? Correct.
Yeah. I don't
wouldn't
think
be Showtime.
Yeah, I think there's a reason Showtime's logo didn't show up. I think there's a reason Hulu's didn't show up, or Disney Plus or whatever.
Yeah.
Or Paramount Plus or Peacock. Netflix is becoming synonymous with kind of like B plus content. Like they have a show coming out called F-Boy Island.
Yeah, man, I saw that. I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
Right. While HBO is like doubling down on like an Apple TV and Disney Plus. They're doubling down and tripling down on like the most innovative and daring and risky content, interesting content with interesting, performances and things like that. And Netflix is like, I think we put on social media, like they greenlit some show called The Sex Room, where a real estate agent comes in and teaches you how to build a sex room. And it's like
design or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And it's like, come on. Like not only as an investor, because I'm an investor in Netflix. So not only as an investor, but also just as a person who wants to see Reed Hastings and Netflix win for other reasons. Like they need to not be tempted by blood and honey and by this. They need to go
they're consuming audiences is what they're doing. Yeah. They're consuming audiences. That's their plan. It's like spread out like like a virus.
Well, they just did their Q2 reporting and they lost 1 million more subs. And, and they did that and they had Stranger Things and they had Lincoln Lawyer and they had Seinfeld rolling through there. So, I wonder, I think their pricing's weird. I think that.
That's definitely.
I think they're becoming mature as a company. I've been part of companies where you have a growth period that's created by product management, by creative people, by sales, and new biz energy, and then once you become big because of that. Somehow or another, the COO or the CFO just kind of take over, and the accountants take over. Usually, the person underneath the CFO take over, and it becomes about efficiency and optimization. HR gets deeply involved all of a sudden, tells you what you can and can't say and do and think, and you stop taking risks that made you big. And I think that's where Netflix is. I think they're in a place.
The investment. That's why they get there. Yeah.
Whereas
like, hey, we got this.
Yeah. Yeah. I think all the other streamers are taking risks that Netflix isn't taking.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, and like you said, they could be looking at them and saying, you guys are being comfortable, right? And you are being risk averse. So we're going to take risks to create environments of content that people want to come to, as opposed to trying to bring in everybody, right? That's what all this, nonsense, this F-boy and sex design, all this stuff. It's like, no, I think Netflix probably said, it's like, they were probably like, look, the people who aren't watching us, what are they watching?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's go be that.
Yeah.
So that they'll come over here. Yeah. That's what they're doing. Whether your HBO Max is your Apple TVs, they're saying, no, we're going to double down on story. We're going to double down on, who's in it, production quality and performances. We're going to double down on that. And people will naturally gravitate, because as soon as you start having a couple people watch it and see how quality it is, then word of mouth, the holy grail, right? That's going to do it for us. We don't have, and those people who come, they can go to Netflix to watch that nonsense, or they can go to wherever, but they're coming over here because they get that special content. And once they realize the quality difference, they'll stay with an HBO Max or an Apple TV, and then we'll cut the cord with Netflix, because they realize that stuff isn't of the quality that they really want.
Because Netflix is the most expensive, so they should have the most premium content, both in the way it looks on your screen and the content you're watching. I'll give you Exhibit A before I go to my second point when we get out of here, is Succession on HBO Max. There's no reason that show should be the best show on TV. Like, it just didn't have anything that you would traditionally say, oh, we're going to go watch that because of who's in it or whatever, or the energy behind it. It just turned out that they have an incredible writer, an incredible team, and incredible performances. So again, it doubles down on what we've always said: story is king. And then I think the other point I just want to make about this before we get out of here is I just want to drill this point home, which is picking the right. I think that a lot of times we see what's popular in the culture in the moment, and we say, I'm not going to be like them. They're all doing that over there. I'm doing the opposite. And I think there's a time to do that. I do. And there's a lot of quotes and cliches around not following the crowd and not being a lemming.
Yeah.
But when you're an indie filmmaker and you want to make a name for yourself, my point I was trying to draw home earlier is maybe you should just pick, for the first thing you do, just pick a subject that you know has the interest of millions, hundreds of millions of people. Right. Like instead of doing like a documentary, let's say you want to do a documentary. Instead of doing a documentary on some obscure subject, do a documentary on the Kardashians and the effect they've had on our society for the last 2 decades. You are going to win if you do that. Will you want to kill yourself because you chose that? I don't know.
Right.
You will win in all ways if you make that and build that up and do it. That's all I'm saying, Nick.
Yep. I'm with you. And that's why we always talk about intellectual property and the value therein. And with all the stuff that's out there in the public domain, and even the ability to do a documentary or, an opinion piece that references those types of folks. Like, again, you're leveraging a market that already exists, right? So if you can do that, even in short form, again, I think that is a recipe for success.
I absolutely love it. That's a great place to stop. And like I said, we'll have that trailer in the show notes, and anything else we mentioned, we'll try to put in there as well. And I think you guys will get a kick out of it. And go to the theaters and see what we're saying. What's your experience? We'd love to hear it. Hit us up at contact@bonsai.film or on social media at _bonsai creative. Either place is fine. We'd love to hear what your theater experience is. Is it a room with 40 people in it? Is it a theater where the film reel didn't work? Is it a theater that's packed and people are engaged and there's a lot of chatter and the concession lines are packed and take you 20 minutes to get through? We want to hear about those experiences so we can talk about them on the next Indie Talk. You can also find out more about this podcast and more about us as an organization, Bonsai Creative, at bonsai.film. But most importantly, when you go there, you can engage with us both in the branding and marketing space. So if you have a film that needs to be branded and marketed and you don't have a budget for that, or you made a budget for it, but you don't know who to hire, all these types of things where you would need a consult or you would need someone to execute that, we can do that for you. So that's bonsai.film. And then the other thing that's there that I love, there's 2 other things actually. 2 other things I love is first, our newsletter, Indie Insights, comes out every 2 weeks on a Friday. It's great. So join that network of creatives, and it's really easy. We have a little pop-up on the website. You just put your email in there. We're never going to spam you. We're never going to sell your stuff. All we're going to give you is great filmmaker goodness every 2 weeks, and it will be stuff you can use. And it's just stuff we come across over a span of a couple of weeks that we think are really interesting and hope you will too. And last but not least, we have officially started our fiscal sponsorship, Voice of the Filmmaker. So this is a great opportunity. It's a partnership we have with the Women in Film and Television Nashville. And it's a great opportunity for you to put a couple of dollars towards the success and creative endeavors of women in film. And so if you want to see that thrive, simply go to bonsai.film and you'll be able to click at the top, I believe, Nick, and click Voice of the Filmmaker, click the donate button, and that money goes directly to the films and creative endeavors of women in film and members of the Women in Film and Television. And hopefully something great will come out of that, and that you guys in the audience can actually watch in the future. And again, for the newsletter, it's just bonsai.film/newsletter, or you can just go to the main site and you'll get a pop-up. So, Nick, with that, please leave us with the credo.
Yeah, always, man. This is awesome. This is good to be back with you. And like, I know you're over there laughing like the credo. But yeah, to our filmmaking friends and family and followers out there, be better, be creative, be engaged.
And thank you for listening. Nick, I'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. We'll do it again.
All right. Be good.
All right, man. Take it easy. Yep.
Peace.
Peace.
Hey, gang. One more thing before you go. I want to talk to you about Indie Insights. Indie Insights is our bi-weekly newsletter and love note to the film industry, movies, and the creatives that make them, not to mention you, our esteemed listeners. Inside, you'll find curated industry trends, articles, exclusive commentary, and underappreciated films from filmmakers like you worldwide. And the best part is that it's completely free. So, join today at www.bonsai.film. It just takes a few seconds, and once you sign up, you'll get the very next newsletter. It's that simple. Go to www.bonsai.film to get Indie Insights, our bi-weekly newsletter, and join a network of film creatives like yourself. And don't worry, we'll never sell your information or spam you with a bunch of nonsense emails, just the bi-weekly film industry goodness you need. And if you ever tire of Indie Insights, we hope not, but if you do, simply unsubscribe. No gimmicks, no games. So, one more time, go to www.bonsai.film to get Indie Insights for free. And thank you for listening.